All right, today is Monday, the 23rd. For starters, I just want to introduce this video. This is the day of my parents' holy union and holy marriage. Uh, I just wanted to say that. Congrats to them for being married for so long and being together for so long. There's a lot of hardships and stuff that comes with that. But yeah, that's nice. And two, this is an NBA video, so let's talk about the NBA stuff. Yesterday, one really important thing happened, and something else also happened yesterday, but I won't tell you which is which. I need you to use your big boy pants and make the decision yourself on which one you think I'm referring to as the more important one. So yesterday, the Kevin Durant trade happened, and to be quite honest, I'm gonna address that one first because it happened first. No other reason. Not me wanting to save the best for last or anything. That's ridiculous. Yeah, so real quick, Kevin Durant was traded yesterday to the Houston Rockets, and one of the trades that I anticipated Houston and the Suns making a trade this offseason. This was not the trade that I saw. This was not the trade that I anticipated, to be quite frank. There's a multitude of reasons why I did not think that KD would want to be on the Rockets. There's a multitude of reasons why I thought if the Rockets were to trade for KD, they would have to give up something else that they already have over there. They didn't do that. And I'm looking at Phoenix like, you are possibly one of the worst ran organizations ever. And it's not talked about enough of how bad of an organization you are. Because truthfully, if we're really being honest with ourselves, you deserve to be in the exact same conversations that we have and held the Minnesota Timberwolves in for the longest time of being one of the worst ran organizations in NBA history since they got into the league. Now, I do not know how old the Phoenix Suns are as a franchise. I could not tell you that. They're not an expansion team that I remember recently. I'm pretty sure they might have come over in the ABA era, because I don't really recall them existing before the 80s. I don't recall. I could be wrong. That happens. But this is one of the worst run organizations of all time, especially if you're including their tenure from Charles Barkley all the way up till now. And the reason I'm saying this is because they have one finals appearance over that entire time period. That's 93, by the way. 93 up until 2023. It's already 30 years. They have 2 finals appearances in that period of time. Right? That's it. The 2 finals appearances. That's it. More importantly than anything else that I just said, despite the fact that they've had multiple MVPs in a Charles Barkley and a Steve Nash, both of those two only made it to the finals one time. Steve Nash never making it out of the Western Conference Finals to the finals. The only time I remember and recall him being in the Western Conference Finals, and I know he probably could have made it further had he not been injured at the hands of one of those Spurs players in that time. But let's be honest, the Spurs were the Spurs, and they probably would have won that championship that year anyway. Regardless of anything, I'm sorry for the history lesson. Let's talk about the Kevin Durant trade. And just let's talk about Booker's tenure as this. This is going to be his 8th head coach in 11 years. Which, dear God, So, why am I saying this real quick? Why am I talking about Devin Booker when Kevin Durant was the one traded? So here's what they traded Kevin Durant for. Players. I'm just going to talk about the players. I'm not going to talk about the assets and stuff. These are the players that were moved in the Kevin Durant trade. Dillon Brooks, who was widely considered overpaid, and we were waiting and wondering, how are you going to move this guy? When he signed this contract, we were like, dude, this is a terrible contract. You overpaid on Dillon Brooks, a prospect that nobody wanted. And now you were able to offload it. So honestly, Houston, congratulations on that. That's one. And 2, Jalen Green, whose stock could not be lower. It couldn't be lowered. He averaged 13 on terrible efficiency in the playoffs. And that's really inflated because he had one really good game. And mind you, he's averaging 13 points over 7 games. So that one game, even though it's doing a lot of lifting, is not accurate to show you what a pitiful score he was. Because if you take out that game where he had such an outlier in not only efficiency, but volume too, and bear with me real quick, the Phoenix Suns did. Not only did the Phoenix Suns manage to get 2 more shooting guards for themselves, which you already have Devin Booker and Bradley Beal, you didn't get anything else you need on the depth chart. If you look at their depth chart right now, the only thing that is on the roster is 6'5" niggas. I don't need to explain to you why that's combo guard size, right? None of those guys that they have on the roster is equivalent value to a Kevin Durant. Like I say, traded for his equivalent value to Kevin Durant. Maybe equivalent salary in the case of Dylan Brooks, and that was how you were able to move him. But you got terrible value from this. And here's another thing. The Houston Rockets not only own your draft picks, they traded for your draft picks in advance in anticipation for Kevin Durant wanting out. But here's another thing. Not only did you not get any of your draft picks back in this move, not only can they take those moves and package them up to make another move and maybe even move Fred VanVleet for another star, potentially. I don't think they should, but if they can get some more depth at that point guard position to better suit Kevin Durant, which is something that eluded Phoenix, right? You have a star who is in their prime, and you're going and saying, yeah, we need a rebuild. A star, mind you, just keep this in mind. 2 years ago, we were having genuine debates if he was better than Kevin Durant. The NBA community was looking over and thinking, yeah, but he kind of like, I don't know, that 47 that he scored, like that, the way it looked and the efficiency and how he did it, like in the playoffs, we're like, I don't know, like, and Kevin Durant's on the decline, like maybe Book is gonna be the number one. Like this might be what it is, right? These were the talks we were having. We were like, Book might be in a top 10 position. We were still wondering, like, of Devin Booker and Donovan Mitchell and Anthony Edwards. At that point in time, we were like, it's really like, pick your own. Like, which one do you think is the best? You motherfuckers went out after trading Chris Paul, which I agree, you had to trade Chris Paul. But for Bradley Beal, like, no one thought that was a good move. First of all, he had a no-trade clause. Washington was just begging to get rid of him. You trade for a player that has no value in Bradley Beal. You then trade for 2 more shooting guards, and Jalen Green has no value and is going to need time to develop, which is why the Houston Rockets pushed him out of the organization because he doesn't fit with their timeline. And then you add Dylan Brooks on there. What exactly did you do positively here? You also had the opportunity to recuperate some of your draft picks because Houston has them, and you're going to be shitting on yourself. You're going to be tanking, and Devin Booker should axe out because for the last 11 years of this nigga's career, because I just want you to think about this, he has been in the league since 2016. There are pictures of him on the court with retirement Kobe. That season is the year that he played. He was drafted more than 10 years ago. I'm begging if I'm Devin Booker to be moved. And the fact that the Phoenix Suns did not get their draft picks back from the Kevin Durant trade, which is something that should have been their bare minimum, or I'm telling KD, fuck it, nigga, you're under contract. You're gonna hoop for us one more year. I'd rather lose you in free agency than not get my draft picks back while trading you to this team. You got nothing. You got zero value out of him. You got nothing from him. And just to be clear, because this is how trades work in the NBA, and they're transitive, you traded Mikal Bridges and multiple picks for Kevin Durant. So you traded Mikal Bridges and multiple amounts of your picks so you could give away Kevin Durant to the Houston Rockets, who have your draft picks because they made trades with Brooklyn to acquire them and put them in the position to get a Kevin Durant, and you didn't get them back? What the fuck were you doing? Okay, now that we got rid of this small talk of that, and by the way, just in case we're unclear, I fully expect that if Devin Booker was to ask for a trade, that he should be moved to Detroit. I think it fits him very well. The culture is very nice. They need him actually. Like, this is one of the rare times where you can look at a team like, oh, it's his home city too, right? Detroit seems like a perfect landing spot for him. But regardless of all that, a new champion has been anointed in the NBA. A new champion has been declared in the NBA. Now, I know people are going to be like, oh, it's boring when the team that won 68 games hoists the trophy at the end of the year. First of all, they played 2 Game 7s. Shut up. They played the first Game 7 in NBA Finals history. Since 2016, there's only been 4 Game 7s in Finals history. They played one of the greatest games of all time. And yes, Tyrese Halliburton suffered an Achilles injury. This is something that we knew he could have possibly had when you get a calf injury. This is why it's so tough, and you shouldn't be playing through calf injuries. I understand why he took the risk, and I understand why it happened. And I know medical professionals probably told him, look, man, if you're feeling like you're not ready to go, you don't have to go, dude. You don't have to go. And probably someone on the staff was probably advising him not to go. These are the risks you take being a professional athlete. These are the risks you take. It is very unfortunate to see someone as likable as Tyrese Halliburton, who had such a great run as Tyrese Halliburton did this year. I really want to take time to appreciate that. Maybe even give you a moment of silence. Unfortunately, my fan is going to be running loud, so just bear with me. I feel like we've taken enough time to appreciate him, and I think everyone was very excited about it. It is kind of one of the reasons why people are like upset that OKC won it, but it's more upset for Tyrese Halliburton having to deal with such an injury at that point in time, and when it happened versus just general discontent for the champions. And if it is discontent for the champions, shut the fuck up. So the latter half of this video is really going to be, because this is basically 2-in-1 videos, because there's completely different topics. And if you're wondering what's behind me, that's clothes. I gotta fold those. It has been a miserably hot day from where I'm living on this coast. Thank you, billionaires, for fucking the environment and making my summers as unbearable as it could possibly be. Thank God that I'm not living in Arizona like a Devin Booker. That nigga AC, fine. But regardless, there are no such thing as asterisks on championships. Because if we're going to put asterisks on any championship, we're going to put asterisks on all championships. I'm going to be completely honest. I've been seeing a lot of recency bias and towards them, and saying that the Thunder had to play against an injured John Morant team. By the way, that was an 8th seed, and that was a team. That's a player that's injury prone. We knew he was going to be injured. I'm tired of you motherfuckers talking like this one is the one. This is the one you were going with. This is the worst one, to be quite honest. Then you have an Aaron Gordon. Now Aaron Gordon's injury not only happened during the series, just as a John Morant's injury, but it was unpredicted, and I didn't see it happen, and no one really saw it happening, and he's not a very injury-prone player. But, I don't want to say but, many of us had them beating them before a Game 7 even occurred, and many of us had them doing that, and it was a very entertaining series, and more importantly than that, in Game 7, they etched them out, and they made Jokic play one of the worst series of his life. I don't see why we're putting an asterisk on this series. Shut the fuck up. Move on. And then after we get out of the second round, we go to the Western Conference Finals. No one can say anything about this series. But Ant got injured during the latter half. Oh my god. This series was already over. It was already over when he got injured. Let's stop lying. It's the same thing that we had with John Morant. When he faced that injury, which was a minor injury, all things considered, considering who else got injured, let's be fair. But when he got injured and faced that injury, dude, the series was already fucking over, right? It's already over. Next, let's talk about the finals. Yes, Tyrese Halliburton got injured in Game 5, got injured in Game 5, and then got re-injured and aggravated the injury even worse in a Game 7. No, I did not have the Pacers beating them before this series. No, I did not have that happening. Honestly, it was a miracle that they made it this far. Let's be honest. Because the team that we saw and the team that the Thunder played as was one of the greatest teams of all time. Just straight up, they are one of the greatest teams I have ever seen. The fact that this series went 7 games, you should be grateful that this series went 7 games and that they didn't sweep them or gentlemen sweep them. Honestly, it was an impressive championship. And before we discredit the finals MVP, the reigning defending MVP, the Western Conference MVP, and on top of that, the scoring champion of this year, I need you to remember that no other guard in NBA history has the accomplishments that he has. Well, mainly because of the Western Conference Finals MVP, right? But no guard that I've seen has ever done this in one season. The only other guards that have won the MVP and the championship in the same year are Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan. That's it. The only guards that have ever won MVP and won the finals previous to that are MJ, Michael Jordan, and MJ, Michael Jordan, and Steph. Sorry, I forgot Steph. My bad. But the only ones that won a scoring title as well as the championship and MVP in the same season is Michael Jordan. That's it. And that's it. The last time we saw an MVP win the championship is Shea, and then you go all the way back to LeBron. Now, I think Jokic should have won the MVP the year he won his championship, but that didn't happen. It didn't. Like, what do you want? And then he went to the finals and averaged 30 in the finals. Like, can you just shut up and appreciate what's in front of you for 5 seconds? You niggas are missing the forest for the trees because you want to push agendas. You're missing the forest for the trees because you want to push agendas. Championships don't have asterisks. And if we're talking about championships that do have asterisks, oh my God, I can go down the list. I can discredit your favorite right now. It is so easy. It's so easy to do that. You should appreciate them for what they are. Because truthfully, you may never see something like this ever again. And with the recent developments in the NBA, this team might not even repeat. This team that won 68 games had the MVP, the MVP, who was also the scoring champ, might not even come out of the second round if the trend stays true. They might not make it out of the second round next year. The East is as wide open as it's ever been. And I know that's unfortunate, and that has a lot to do with injuries. The Tyrese Halliburton's injury is going to sideline him for at least until the 2027 season. I don't even need to say how long Tatum's going to take to get back. Do I? Right? Damian Lillard also shuts the Bucks down, even though the Bucks do play better without Damian Lillard on the court. His money is locked up, and he's got a pretty long deal. It's going to be terribly long before they get him back. The Boston Celtics are looking to do a complete retool and trade a lot of those assets and guys that they picked up. The Cleveland Cavaliers did not make it out of the second round despite winning 64 games this year. The 76ers, do I even need to say that? They have Paul George who's shackling them with all that money. He's injury prone. And then their best star player is Joel Embiid. And then Tyrese Maxey is not even capable of getting a team to the playoffs by himself. So that's open. You should be grateful on the era that you live in because there's so much parity. There is so much. I remember all of the talks because I was watching YouTube. I was talking to people about basketball back in the day about how boring you guys thought the regular season was. The regular season not only matters now, and there's I just would like to point this out. The regular season has always mattered. There's always been a strong correlation between the teams that win the most games in the regular seasons and the ones that host the championship at the end of the series. You guys never seem to notice this for some reason. The lowest seed we've seen win a championship in the modern era was the Houston Rockets, the 6th seed, and that is such an outlier that I don't know what to tell you. And then after that, they won back-to-back, so I don't know. I feel like the 6th seed is just not adequate to talk about the talent that was clearly on that team. Or, well, the talent in Hakeem that was on that team, but still. let's just look over and talk about the teams that have won the championship in the last 5 years. The Thunder were the number one team in the league last year. The Celtics were the number one team in the league last year. The year that the Nuggets won, I think they were at least the first seed out west. Because if I'm not mistaken, the Clippers and they were the first seed because they played against the Phoenix Suns, who were the fourth seed in that year. The fifth seed was the Clippers that year. They were the number one seed in the West that year, and I don't think they were the number one seed league. They might have been the number one seed league-wide, but I don't think so. You need to be at least the number 3 seed in your conference to even make the finals nowadays, unless you're like, I don't know what to tell you. Let's go back to, if we go back to 2022, the Warriors were, I think they were at least a 3rd seed. Because who did they play in round? I remember they played the Dallas Mavericks in the Western Conference Finals. I can't remember who what seed they were. The round before that, I think they were in fact the 3rd seed. Yeah, they were the 3rd seed in the conference because they played against the Grizzlies in round 2. No, they played against the Grizzlies in round 1. They were the 3rd seed because the Grizzlies were the 6th seed. Yeah. Right, like, and we go back the year before that, the Bucks were the number 1 seed in the East. They were the number 1 seed in the East, right? Just remember because the Bulls might have eked it out just to be the 8th seed. 2021. I can look that one up, but I'm pretty confident in my last assessment of the Warriors. I'll do my research in here. Why did I say Cooper Cup? What the? No, the 2021 season was Jokic's first MVP. The Sixers won. That was also a shortened season, so just to be clear, the Milwaukee Bucks were the 3rd seed in that season. It was a shortened season, and the team that won the most games that year was 51 games. That was a shortened season. It was a 72-game season, which is 10 games less. So if we think about it, the Milwaukee Bucks were well on pace to win more than 50 games if they had played the regular season game, right? And even still, like, they were the number 1 seed the year prior, so not a surprise that team won the championship. They were 46 wins is not a top 6 record in the league, but it's literally 1 game away from being a top 6 record in the league. At the minimum, it is the 6th most. But like, the only teams that won 1 more game than them is like the Nuggets, the Clippers. Brooklyn won 2 more games than them. Like, it was that close that year. If there had been 82 games, it might have been a little bit wider or whatever, but that's ridiculous. The year prior to that, because this is just within 5, in the 2020 Lakers were the number 1 seed out west. Like, there's a strong correlation to the regular season. That's something you guys asked for. It's just NBA fans are so whiny and ungrateful for the things that they see in front of them on a day-to-day basis that they will never, ever. And then here's the worst thing about this. Once all of this era is said and done, they'll act like the next era is so much worse. They'll act like the next era is so much worse when it's only gotten better. Story less long. Like, comment, subscribe. There are no asterisks in the championship. I appreciate the Thunder. I appreciate Shai Gilgeous-Alexander because he might not be here tomorrow. With all that being said, shut up and stop bitching. Shut the fuck up.